attempt number 3 I tried to record this video because now that my camera keeps dying, this thing keeps going on. I don't know. Anyways, welcome to the first episode of Drinking Matters. If you're tuning in for the first time, really appreciate you guys actually listening to this podcast. Just a quick little synopsis before we move on in and let you guys listen in. It's a show interview kind of style, where we just talk about different things that are current, be it pop culture or anything that's in our heads that we might be interested in talking about. Depending on how everything goes, it'll be either interview style or solo, with just me, myself, recording this whole thing. The last couple of days, I've been working on all the assets. That's why it's been taking so long. I actually did this this podcast episode a couple days back. And I'd really like to thank my friend Izzy for taking the time out of his day to appear in the first episode of Drinking Matters. I really enjoyed talking to him. We caught up. We just discussed the current situation and events, and just talked about the things that interested us. And I really appreciate him taking the time to be on this show and being on the first episode as the special guest. If you guys have anything that you guys want to maybe something like an idea that you guys want me to talk about, go ahead and leave it in the description below or hit me up on my socials. I'll leave them in the description as well. I really appreciate it, guys, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you guys can or want. I'm not gonna force you guys, up to you. But I really appreciate you guys taking a listen if you guys do. So thank you so much. Without further ado, I'll let the intro and podcast play. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.
Tell me, do we have time for another number?
Oh, I think so, Jimmy. What tone do you have in mind?
Welcome, listeners, to the first episode of Drinking Matters. This evening, I have with me a good friend of mine, a longtime companion who I've had the pleasure of working with for a couple of years at one of my old jobs. Great friend of mine that I've been keeping in touch and unfortunately really haven't had the opportunity to talk a lot to, but I'm glad he's here with me. Good friend of mine, Izzy. How's it going, my man?
Oh, yo, what's up, Brian? Thanks
Hey.
for having me here, yeah. How's it going?
It's good, man. And you know what? You just reminded me that entire intro, I didn't even, introduce who I was. So, yeah, we're not going to start over. We're going to keep this going. But yeah, I'm your host, Brian. With me today is Izzy. Thank you very much for coming up on this inaugural episode. Just a heads up to our listeners, this podcast is mainly just going to be a conversation between people. I am going to have this podcast going as much as I can, maybe a weekly podcast. I want to try to bring in different people, have conversations, and Izzy here, took the time out of his day to come up on the first episode, and I really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's really awesome that I'm your first guest in your podcast, so I'm really excited.
You know what, man? If it's anybody that I wanted to have on my first episode, it's you, because for some reason, the couple of things that I remember working with you is that no matter where we were at, we'd always have a conversation, and it'd be a really deep conversation. So no, I appreciate it. But for this podcast, I do want to have a little thing going. It is called Drinking Matters, so I do want to have
Got my wine ready.
You what?
I got my wine ready.
You got your wine? You got a wine? All right. For you, Izzy, I cracked open my my bourbon, and this bottle of bourbon that I cracked open, it's one of my favorite ones. It's Booker's. I don't know if you know that brand, but it's supposedly, the way that it was explained to me, because my girlfriend took me to go whiskey tasting at a bar up in Brea. They said it was like a honey barrel whiskey, essentially kind of like the secret family recipe that's hidden within that distillery, and it was supposedly only given to family members of that group, but they mass produced it. So for you, I cracked open this one on our first episode. Appreciate it. Before we begin our conversations, cheers, my good friend. Let's take a sip beforehand. Cheers.
There you
go. Ooh, all right. Loosen up a little bit. Get this conversation going. To start off, we are recording this during a time that's a little bit tough, not just on individual people, but society as a whole. Let's just get this out of the way. The whole Corona thing. Um, it's different for a lot of people, and I haven't necessarily spoken to you as often as I should. I just want to know, dude, how's it been going for you, man? Yeah, you been doing all right? Has it affected you in a really negative way? You holding in? What's
Yeah,
going on,
yeah.
man?
So, in the more serious note, I think like ever since it's been increasing, like we've seen the numbers grow, and it is affecting a lot of like thousands of families. But I'm really fortunate that my family hasn't been affected as much,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's financially or mentally. We're still my mother and my father both have really secure jobs right now, so I'm really blessed that they're still bringing ends meet on the table, and that my both my parents are just supporting my sister and I through these like difficult times. Obviously, I can't say the same through lots of families that I've already witnessed struggling, trying to just make it, every week.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to see that, and knowing that I personally know them, like around my neighbors too. I was asking my sister, I'm like, I wonder how they're being affected, but for sure, I've already done my part in driving my mother and my sister as well, driving my mother around college communities that they're offering free food, and so we try to get a lot because you first have to you need to be a student, and so my mom's currently a student at SEC,
Uh-huh.
so they have like a free like every week they have like a free food giveaway. And so we stocked up a lot, and then we gave it to our neighbors. Some of the food that we had to
That's
our
good.
neighbors. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's good.
that's at least we're doing something,
No, yeah, of course.
Um,
It's personally the way I see it. It's like it's good to hear this stuff because honestly, one of the hardest things from what I've been seeing is that the media portrays all of these situations as like a really, really bad and hard kind of like time for people. They don't really talk so much about the good stuff and how people are trying to go about their lives
mm,
normally and like the good
yep.
stuff, like on your ends, for example. It is hard for a lot of people. I'm one of, I'm like like you, I'm fortunate. I'm still going to work. I'm still making things meet, all those things. But the media doesn't talk about any of that stuff. It mainly
Oh yeah,
wants
they're
to
just focusing
focus.
on the increased number of the
Of,
cases and all.
exactly, and that's kind of like difficult. And so I feel, at least on my end, I feel like more a lot of the society needs to hear good positive stories about these circumstances.
I
They need
agree.
to hear and see people going about their lives as normal. I'll tell you right now, I recently just got back from the store maybe about an hour and a half ago, and it's weird because it's the first time I've ever gotten out of the store sweating, and not because I was running around getting all these groceries, but because one thing that I noticed is that you are so conscious now walking around different places,
Wow. Yep.
trying not to act a certain way because that's there people expect certain things to happen because of the
That's
situation that's
actually
going
very
on.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's weird. I don't know if you found yourself kind of like holding in a cough or a sneeze in public.
Oh, dude, same here.
It's
Same here. The other day, my aunt and her two little daughters came over, and then we went to Albertsons. It's like a 5 minute walk from my house.
mm-hmm,
And just walking in, you're like so now super conscious of like to keep your distance. And you're like, well, for me, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people can agree that you're now like super self aware of
mm-hmm,
now like how not to act in public because of the crisis that's going on. And for sure, even like when I noticed that we were in line just to get like a smoothie from Starbucks, we kept our distances, but like someone came in and they were like holding their breaths like like passing by me, and I'm like, wow, like I didn't take it offensive. I'm just like, wow, like we're in this case where like people are trying so hard just to like not even you know
yeah.
risk it or anything. I'm just like, wow, like that's so weird, like the psychology behind all of this, and I think it's really amazing, but yeah, like just terrifying how humans are
It's
now
it's
behaving this way.
it's weird. Like you said, you can't be
Yeah,
offended walking around and seeing people, like push
yeah, no,
themselves away from you and be distant or
yeah,
hold their
no, no.
breath. You can't do any of that stuff. But it is kind of weird given that just a month ago we were perfectly fine. Everything was normal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you could walk around the store, be maybe 3 feet away from someone, and people would not, you know, most people wouldn't care. I wouldn't say that everyone, but I'd say most people wouldn't care. And now you're living at this time when this pandemic is going around, and you could be 5 feet away from someone, you could be sweating or holding in a cough, and all of a sudden it'll freak someone out. I'll tell you
Yeah.
right now, dude, at work, I work with someone that's legitimately been nervous and on edge for the past maybe 3-ish
Uh,
weeks, and every week it gets worse because before what it's this week on April 6th, they just started recommending, like not that long ago, they recommended that people wear cloth masks outside, right?
yeah.
And what, last week they were saying no, and the week before that they were saying like, guys, just stay away, close all the parks, do all this stuff. Like it got
Yeah.
progressively worse up to this point.
Mhm.
And so what kind of surprised me, and just I wouldn't say it frustrated me, but it confused me, is the reaction of some people, like, you know, my coworker, who essentially before they started implementing people wearing cloth masks and stuff like that would barge into the office and essentially have a big complaint saying, you know, hey, why are people wearing masks? I thought you should only wear masks because you're sick, and then making a bigger deal out of it than it was. And so
Oh,
that
okay.
just ensues panic. Which
Yeah,
brings
yeah,
me to
yeah.
this point that I wanted to ask you. Like, for me at least, this, I would say maybe about 2 weeks before it got this bad. Um, One of the things that kind of upset me the most was having this kind of fear in people. And I get it, you know, you don't know what's going on. You have this pandemic,
Yeah.
the media keeps reporting on it. But when you have people panicking as much as they are now, it doesn't make the situation better. Granted, you know, we don't know what's going on. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how long people are going to be without jobs or how long we have to keep going like this. But for me, if we want to make sense of what's going on, we have to have some sort of structure, some sort of, you know, composure. That's the word I was looking for, composure.
Mm.
We have to have
Yep.
composure. And so that fear that people, you know, publicly put out there just makes things a lot worse. I don't know. Would you think that that could be an aspect as to why people are reacting this way, or do you think differently?
I super agree with you, Brian, because the as we know, social media can either bring a lot of good or misinform a lot of the community,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously start chaos out of just a little paper review or
Mm-hmm.
and I have noticed that social media is kind of focusing more on the bad, like you said earlier, instead of like all the good that the community is now being humble. We're now getting closer to one another. We're now realizing that we need to respect Mother Nature and all that stuff. Like if I feel like if the social media focused more on that,
Mm-hmm.
then people would feel more at ease, or they'll just be like, like there is a pandemic, but at least there's a good side. Like there's a bright side to everything. But instead everyone, they're feeding to this virus, not only as in like you know um of how it looks like in a perspective, but they're just causing more fears. And that for sure, yeah, I do agree is a problem. And I can say like I can say that because my mother, she every time like she hears like a news like, oh, a new case or a new, tell her mom like, just I get it, but you feeding it more isn't gonna make it better,
Oh yeah, 100%
Um,
agree. 100% agree.
yeah, and so that's what gets me frustrated. That it's not that I don't care; it's
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I choose to have a more optimistic and more like structured mentality state. I'm like, look, I agree that there's something going on,
Mm-hmm.
but us being on the news, us like trying to hear more gossip isn't gonna make it better.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, yeah. So I totally get you that we need to have like a more mental structure of how we should react to this. But I mean, obviously everyone's different. Everyone reacts different. And so this is honestly just a mental battle to see who can keep sane during these times. And yes, for everyone's gonna be affected differently. But at the end of the day, everyone has the power to either let it like stomp over your life and literally like totally ruin your social daily life,
Mm-hmm.
or just choose to accept it and try to adapt and try to overcome. So
I do want to hit on a point that you said, because you said, you want to try to keep a positive attitude. And that's something that I've personally been working on the last, maybe, I don't know, like months since this started. And one of the things that I've personally tried to do is I've tried to stay away from social media as much as possible. I don't really put on the news anymore. Social media, okay, let me correct that. I've been staying away from mainstream media, not social media. So,
okay, yeah, mainstream, correct, yeah.
Mainstream, yeah. I think that's probably the better word for it. So I don't turn on the TV and put on, Channel 5 or Fox,
CNN, all the fake news, yeah.
None of that. All the fake news. No. There's some
Yeah.
legitimacy to it, but like at this point, I don't put any of that stuff in the background. I don't want to listen to it. And it's mainly because I get it. They try to get what's out there to the people. They want to try to inform and report the correct things. That's all well and good. But when you consume that much information and it's just not positive, it's just down, down, down,
it destroys you.
Exactly. It affects you mentally in a way that just isn't right. And so that
I
negativity
agree.
affects your daily living. You don't see the light at
true,
the end
yeah.
of the tunnel. You don't see, the positive outcomes that can come out of it. So I put that away. Social media is still there. And the way I flip it on that is, or the way I flip it is I use social media as a means to find humor. Because I don't know about you, but I enjoy as much as this is a hard time to a hard time to live in, it's appropriate in a way to find humor in a classy way, you know? It's not okay to laugh about the circumstances, about how the death toll for this disease has been skyrocketing. And, it's at this point reached the same numbers as the death toll for 9/11. I think joking about that stuff is 100% not okay at this time. But if you find jokes, like for me, one of my favorite ones was, the timeline from January till now, where it's like January, World War III was supposed to happen. What was
February?
February?
Those memes.
Yeah, those memes, It's like
Yeah.
that whole thing. And then my favorite one, because it ends on April, and then it's a photo of like aliens attacking and Godzilla coming from the sea.
Oh, yeah. April will be much better, and it's like a Godzilla or something. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like those jokes make it a little bit livable, because if you can find humor in that, then you kind of forget that negative aspect on certain things.
Yep.
And I was having this conversation with my girlfriend, I think it was like last week or something, where she was telling me how it's kind of funny that one of the biggest, like we both touched on this because we both grew up on it, but how can I say it? Hispanic media, like Spanish media, I guess you could say. If you've ever paid attention to Spanish media, it's hard hitting negativity. Every other news story, if it's not about religion or if it's not about world news or local news or anything like that, it's the biggest way you can make this thing bad. Don't go to this place because of this. And so it's just like, you want to avoid all that. You really do.
At the same time, people love, that's what kind of fills them up sometimes, is that they're like, oh my God, I'm obviously not quarantined, but some are quarantined because they're choosing to. And so they just find a purpose to like spread more fear. And for some people, they love it, which is kind of weird. But I mean, like I said, everyone's different. But yeah.
You hit the nail. You hit the head right on. Is it? You hit the head right on? No. The nail right on the head. I couldn't even try to figure out the saying, but you hit the nail right on the head.
Either, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But you hit the nail or the head. Yeah, okay, whatever. You know what I mean. You hit it because, people do like that negativity sometimes, and it is a confusing thing. Because why do you want that negativity in your life? Why do you? Is it the edge? Is it?
No, it's a weird psychology thing behind it. But sorry, go ahead.
I do want to speak to someone that enjoys the negative aspect of it. I want to know if it's because they like having those negative emotions and they just want to feel down because they just don't feel, any better about themselves or about the situation, or if they try to put a positive spin on the negativity. Because I think we're all guilty of that,
Like, I think, honestly, like I said, at the end of the day, it depends on how you choose to switch the problem. Like if you love hearing all that gossip news, but it's not gonna affect you, then by all means, okay, yeah, like stay woke, stay informed of what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
but you're not. It's not gonna let it like mentally destroy you or like, oh my god, like what's going on, right?
Uh-huh.
But for others, some people might not even be conscious of that they're liking it, and it's not even a like, but it's like a guilty pleasure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh my god, yes, yes, like I gotta turn on the news. How many more deaths? Like, I don't know. It really depends on how those people react to, or how those people absorb the information, how it affects them, which is really interesting, honestly. And I have noticed that a lot of people are always just finding new things. And there's like a quote that's all behind this that like, if you find the bad, you will find it. It's the same thing as if you find the good, you'll find it as well.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
100%
there's
agree.
there's
I think it's easier for people to find the negativity on subjects. It's a lot
yeah,
easier to fall into that because it's out
it
there.
is a lot easier.
You turn on the news, you go on social media, you go on Twitter. Twitter's guilty of it. I'm sorry, but we both have Twitters and we both see
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
just it's a
A lot of
toiletry.
yeah things are going spreading through
Yeah,
Twitter.
it's a toiletry of just garbage sometimes, and you see all this stupid stuff getting spread around. And it's so much easier to find the negativity of certain things like this and then just kind of, you know, accept it rather than, finding the good stuff and finding, just keep grabbing a hold of the good stuff and keeping that in mind so you can progress throughout your day and find the light out of everything. In the
Very
end,
true.
I don't know about because I was thinking about this earlier. Because how old are you if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 22.
You're 22, so you're 4 years ish younger than me. So we're kind of I think we're not the same generation, but we're kind of the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
Yeah, but have we lived through something like this? Not I because I can't remember anything. If I'm gonna be
yeah.
100% honest.
Yeah, no. Anything as quote unquote intense as this?
Hmm.
No. No, not even once.
I do want to bring up a I wouldn't say a quote, but like an idea that I overheard, because I at first didn't agree with it. I did not 100% agree with it, and I thought of it more of as a joke. Um, if you're 22, that means you were born in what 98.
97.
97.
97.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that means to get to the point, the idea was mentioned about a month ago when this kind of first started spreading around, but they were saying that coronavirus becoming a pandemic was our generation's 9/11. And I kind of
Mm,
had to sit on that because I told myself when I first heard it, that's a
it's
joke.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because, I thought of it as a joke because I'm like, dude, how could you compare something like this to something like 9/11? I was born in 93, so that means 2001, 7, 8. I was 8 years old, so I was in elementary school. And I remember getting pulled out of school during the events and seeing this stuff broadcasted on TV, not knowing what it was. And so most of my middle school years, even into high school, was learning about the situation and then living
Yeah.
through the security upgrades and the changes of how people reacted to one another based on culture, based on religion, the precautions that people took. Now you had doors being locked, no one greeting each other, all these different things happening.
Yeah.
And so for me, that impact was a lot heavier. And I think I was being ignorant and laughing at that idea at first, but now given how the situation's evolved to now, I feel differently about it. Nowadays, and I'll ask you on your take on this after, but now that we've gotten to this point where you have more deaths than what occurred on 9/11, at least in the US, you start to see people changing, starting to kind of fear for this spreading even further and wanting to go back to normalcy. But, understanding that we're not going to go back to having a normal life after this. You're going to have
Not.
people
Yeah.
still going through these precautions, still, afraid to shake hands or like
Yeah,
keeping.
for sure.
And I'm sorry, but if you're not washing your hands on a daily basis, if you go out and you come home and you eat not washing your hands, I'm sorry, then that's not sanitary, and you've needed to change that for a while.
That's
But
something else,
yeah,
yeah.
that's something else. But you're gonna have people change their ways of living after this is all over. So now that we've gotten to this point, I do kind of see the comparison. You shouldn't compare the two, but I can kind of see the way it's going to progress and compare those two things. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I, it's that's a really good that's an interesting comparison, and I and I haven't heard about that this generation is the 9/11 generation type of thing.
Uh-huh.
That's really interesting. I'll definitely share that with my sister because I've been sharing everything with my sister, but and her as well, like for any new things that she finds, she shares with me. But what's interesting is that it's not what I was gonna say. Oh, I was gonna say something.
You forgot. Is the wine getting to you already?
Yeah. Oh man,
It's
I
okay.
was
It'll
so
come
like
back.
caught
It'll
up,
come back. It'll come
in the
back.
moment. Yeah.
But
It will hopefully.
I'll bring it
Oh
around.
man, am
I'll
I
bring
drinking
it
too much
around.
already?
I'll bring it around. Let's see if it comes up. But essentially, because I think of it this way, dude. You were, let's see, 97. You were 4 to 5 years old when that incident happened,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that means that when you started to grow into an age that you kind of just started to understand society, you started to see maybe some things being different. And that kind of change, did it affect you in any way? Did you question any of those changes growing up? Or was it just kind of normal to you? Like, oh, well, you know what? Security at the airport it does usually take X amount of number or X amount of hours, people locking their doors and acting a certain way, like to other groups of people. Yeah, that's totally normal. Like, how did you react growing up after the events of 9/11?
Um.
If you can even remember any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, as I got older, and I certainly do remember the next day, all the newspapers were covered with just I wasn't obviously I didn't have like the capacity to understand, but I remember just telling my mother, I'm like, Mom, why is there a lot of smoke and people are running away?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like one clear image I remember of the picture of New York,
Mm-hmm.
and people were running away from the smoke. Um, and so yeah, as I got older and I understood what happened that day, and I was like, oh wow. Um, and what's interesting, and I remember what I was going to talk about is that it's been what 20 years now, approximately 20 years.
We're
And
going, yeah, 20 years.
and people are still talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And so if this coronavirus and the pandemic, if it lasts any like more longer than maybe people were anticipating, for sure it's already going to be written down in history books.
Mm-hmm.
Like we already know, right?
Automatically.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
5 years from now, in history books, oh, in 2020, like, this happened. And if it's already been 20 years since 9/11, then just imagine how many more, like, years are we going to talk about what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true what you said. Like, people, they're not going to, everyone's not going to be the same after this. And it's 100% true. People are now going to be more aware of their situations. They're going to be aware of that. In times like these, we really need to honestly take care of one another and not to be greedy. And I heard like an interesting thing that right now is not the time to be thinking about yourself. Honestly, like there's no room to be selfish right now, but to try to see how you can help your neighbor, or obviously like to share like some of, like you said, like see the light and everything. And it's and it's true that right now, whether or not this thing's gonna last any longer than anticipated, um right now is not the time to be thinking about oneself, but to just try to honestly help the community, which is what I'm seeing a lot too right now. As the same thing that people are saying, that I can think of 100 things of what's going terrible. I can think of 100 things that's good about what's going on right now. Yeah.
Exactly. And I do want to end this topic on a positive note. I don't want to drag it on into
Oh
the
yeah,
negative
I agree.
aspect, because we talked about it. We don't want the negative aspect of these certain things to
You
happen.
don't want to increase the negative about that. It's 100% true.
Exactly. So I'll put it this way. The 9/11 incident essentially made everything safer. There are still a lot of things that we
More
need to work
precautions.
on. There's a lot of precautions, but it made things safer. We are now more aware of our surroundings. We know what we should be paying attention to. So out of that, as tragic and as devastating as it was for the US and for the people that live here, we came out understanding something new. And
There's
so,
always a good thing in everything. Yep.
exactly. Not saying that, the events of 9/11 should have been, oh, something negative happened and yeah, no, something good happened. No, it's a tragedy. It's, we
It
still
is
have
a
to be
tragedy. Yeah.
respectful, but something came out of it that we should be looking into. And if you don't want to take it on a positive spin, that's on you.
That's your problem now.
Exactly. But
know?
if you really do want to see something good out of that, it's that we became more precautious of our surroundings. And how I want to see this is, who knows how long this is going to take. We've been under quarantine for the last 3 weeks. This whole coronavirus topic has been going on for over a month. Something that I want to push for, and I hope that people are more attentive of it, is understanding preventative care over primary and secondary care. Because I used to study health sciences when I was attending college, and that was the idea that stuck with me, was the three ideas of preventative, primary, and secondary care. And then there's tertiary care, all those other things. But preventative care always stuck with me, and I always questioned, I'm like, why do people not necessarily look at this? What is so difficult about understanding preventative care? And I think it's because it's more work than something like primary care. You don't want to stop. I'll give you an example, like diabetics, right? If you're pre-diabetic and someone tells you, hey, stop eating all this sugar, lower your carb intake, make sure that you're eating a lot healthier and not raising your blood sugar so you don't develop diabetes. It's a lot harder to do that than to actually have it and say, hey, you know what, you need to take these pills, you need to go to the doctor, all these different things. Because even though you are putting in the work, you are having someone else be there for you, like a physician, or you're having medicine, all these different things, rather than preventative, where it's all on you, all you trying to figure these things out.
Yeah.
So with the whole so with the whole coronavirus thing, I want people, I hope, not that I hope that people are more attentive of the whole preventative care aspect. Understanding, you get home, you wash your hands before you eat, after you use the restroom, all of that stuff. This is stuff that was taught to us in kindergarten. I'm sorry, but it should have been taught to us in kindergarten.
Like basic knowledge,
yeah, basic knowledge, just like the golden rule. This should be the new golden rule for society, is that you wash your hands, you take care, you sanitize, you are hygienic, all these different things. But most importantly, when you go out, you're not just shaking hands left and right with people and then spreading certain things around. You got to understand those things. You have to be a little bit more sanitary. Maybe carry some hand sanitizer with you, so that way you can wash your hands. And then understanding, hand sanitizer isn't the solution for everything. Go to a restroom, wash your hands there. Be precautious. If someone is sick, don't stand next to them. All these different things. I hope that is what gets taken out of it, a positive aspect of that.
Yep.
I don't know, what are your takes on that? Do you feel
this goes back to what I said earlier, that again, there's no room for being selfish right now. Your actions are going to be amplified more than so than ever, because of what's going on. And if you're not doing your part in society and keeping your hygiene really really sanitized and everything, like you said, washing your hands when you come back, for all the individuals that are still going to local restaurants and supporting them, on their financial crisis, I get it, right? Yeah, you're supporting them still. But again, if you're not, at the end of the day, if you're not now being more conscious of hey, we should wash our hands, we should now sanitize the table when we sit down, all those little simple things do help. And so I do agree, like I said, that people now should now pay a little bit more attention of what they're doing, because their actions are going to determine a lot now. Exactly. What's going on. And so that's one, again, like I said, that's one now positive thing, is that if I can take away from what's going on right now with COVID-19, is that I hope, like you said, we could only hope that everyone around the world is now more conscious of their own personal hygiene, and hey, if I'm sick, maybe I should stay home. No more, oh, screw it, I need to get that money,
Exactly.
And like I said, we do hope that everyone now is now more conscious of their actions, because like I said, if we're not, and we're all being very selfish, this is what happens, and this is what's happening right now. So
exactly. No, exactly. So I want to keep it positive. I want to make sure that we don't fall into just the negative aspects of it. Right now, I don't know if depending on when people are listening to this, but at this moment, health officials are expecting it to get a lot worse, and until we get to that climax, it's not going to decrease. So we're living in the moment where we're going to reach that top. And like I said, like you said as well, it's about keeping the positive mentality and understanding. It will get better soon.
It will get better, yeah.
It will, and it's just a matter of keeping that mentality and understanding everything. What I do want to bring up, because I feel like we've out-talked the whole COVID thing, and I don't want to drag it on. Let's end it on a positive note. Was that certain things came out that you and I both share when this started to happen. And it's kind of funny because I feel that it wouldn't have gotten the same response if what was going on now didn't happen and this came out. And what I'm referring to is Animal Crossing.
I knew. I'm like, I'm
I'll
sure
make
he's
the
gonna talk about
connection.
video games or something.
I'll make the connection in just a bit. But before we go on to our next topic, how are you doing on the wine? Because I do want to cheers and have the last sip of our drinks before we finish the podcast.
I already finished it, man.
Oh, bro, at least get something. Get something so that way you could, like, we don't cling empty
All
glasses.
right, give me like a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break for you guys. But for those listening in and, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
All right.
We good?
My bottle is done. This is the last.
I should have told you this at the beginning. My bad, dude. My bad.
That's all
I
good.
apologize.
I just love
for that.
wine.
You like wine, I like bourbon. I don't blame you, man. I really don't. All right, so let me just write down the time code of when the pause happened. We should be good to go. All right, so topic, Animal Crossing. All right, so the connection that I made earlier, this game, and this is this is my opinion
Did
on
somebody
this.
say?
Did somebody say what?
I'm kidding. Sorry,
did you actually pull up your Switch just to have that audio?
Right there. Yep. It's on the main menu right now.
So, this game, and I'm going to start this by saying this. I feel like this game would have been successful with or without everyone being locked up. But I feel like it grabbed a different audience since all of this started to happen. Because you know what I'm saying, right? So I grew up not playing the GameCube version because I didn't know about Animal Crossing until I think was it not New Leaf, Wild World? I think it was the 3DS version of
Wild World. Yeah, Wild World was for the regular 3D. Regular DS, and then City Folk was for the Wii.
I missed that one. And then I jumped back in with New
Leaf was a 3DS, yeah.
And then I skipped Home Design. I played a bit of Pocket Camp, and then I was more excited to do New Horizons more than anything. But my time with Wild World was I played it for over a year. I think about a year and a half. And I remember spending hours and hours and hours on end collecting all the pieces of seasonal furniture, talking to all the villagers as much as possible to befriend them, just doing everything possible. I even completed the bug fossils paintings back when Animal Crossing had paintings. It was bug fossils, fish, and paintings. So I finished all of that within the year and a half because I spent hours, collecting all this stuff. And so I didn't even know that Animal Crossing had that big of a following back then. Now that New Leaf is out and we're more attached to our social media, I feel like it's gotten a bigger audience that I didn't even expect or did I even know existed.
Yeah, just right now, according to Nintendo statistics and everything, it surpassed Breath of the Wild now in terms of like opening week.
In terms of sales, right?
In terms of sales opening week, yeah.
And then
which is kind of amazing.
Something along the lines of it selling more units with all the other Animal Crossings combined or something like that?
Fine, yeah, for sure. This is what everyone's talking about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, nothing wrong with that because I've invested 3 weeks worth of Animal Crossing. I've only paid maybe an hour and a half every day. Well, no, sorry, not 3 weeks because the game came out on March 20th. It feels like 3 weeks because everything's in real time.
Feels like, yeah.
Yeah, but I think 2 weeks? March 20th. Yeah, 2 weeks. I've invested the 2 weeks of my time playing the game since it came out. Play about an hour and a half to about 2 hours every single day. I've invested a lot of it, and I have to say that this version of the game is probably one of the most enjoyable and one of the easiest Animal Crossings to play.
Yeah,
it's the most versatile out of every single one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because tech allowed it to be. Oh, it's because the Switch is more technically involved. It's a lot better at handling and rendering the graphics, and you get to do more things. It's none of that stuff. It's just the quality of life aspect. It's so much more than that because you are more, you have a lot more to do and it's a lot more open. Um, for me at least, because I know, and we'll get to how you built your part because we talked about this before we even started the podcast. I play mine in real time. I don't time travel or anything like that. And I feel like this one in real time is a lot more grindy, but it's also more relaxing. I know grindy isn't a word, but if you know what I mean, it's like you have to
Oh
put in
yeah,
more work.
every gamer nerd knows what grind.
Every gamer, if you played a game, you know
The
what grinding
grind is
is.
real.
But you have to get the actual pieces to build your
Mhm.
tools. You don't access the second half of the map or your island until maybe day 2 or day 3 once you built the vault pole. You don't
For
even
sure,
get
yeah.
a bridge until maybe day 4. You don't get Nook's Cranny until about a week afterwards. Like everything
And
builds
that's
up
if
to it.
you're not, like you said, and that's supposing you're not grinding as much iron
Mm-hmm.
or nuggets, as the game says, or if you're not collecting as much wood.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing that, then it's gonna take longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, assuming that you're doing that.
Assuming that you're doing all that stuff. For me, at least, I enjoy the game in real time. I have nothing against people that time travel because my Twitter feed is filled with a lot of people having their towns fully built. We're
Fully
talking
decked
about,
out,
yeah,
yeah.
even
Yeah, yeah,
yours.
yeah.
I've seen photos of yours. You've got your paths, you've got a
Mine
good
is
looking
just a cool
house.
village. It's not as nowhere near like they already have Disney World built
Yeah.
in their island. I'm like, what the hell?
What? How did you manage to do? I think Do you remember?
Yeah, no.
And if he's listening, thank you for listening. But do you remember Thomas from?
Thomas Trent?
Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Have you seen
Yeah.
his island on Twitter?
He recently kind of bashed out on me because he like shared a picture of a park,
Uh
and I jokingly said you can find it on Twitter right now. Actually,
huh.
in the
If I
comments you
go
can see
back.
my dumb Animal Crossing villager head.
Uh huh.
I said, but where are the rides? As in like where are the swings?
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't get the memo, and he replied, and I knew it came from Sass because he was like, "It's a park, not a theme park," and I'm like, "Oh my god, same old Thomas." So then
It was a
I was like,
joke.
"Okay, I'm gonna play with you." So then I replied, "Okay, but what?" I'm like, "Where are the swings, the slides? Hello, park, LMAO."
Uh.
And then he had the audacity. I love Thomas, but he had the audacity to screenshot the word dictionary of park. And I'm
Oh
like, oh
no.
my god, this guy.
Oh
And then
no.
I just put, wow, who knew, in full like explanation why, and I just left it as that.
Look, man, all I have to say is this. If it puts the beef away, that his town from the photos he's shown, I can't even picture doing any of that stuff myself. It is I don't have the imagination for it. I'm creative. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to boast or anything, but I could be creative. But that is to the extent of like perfect symmetry. There was a photo that he put up about his park where he
Oh
has like
yeah.
flowers in diagonal formation, and then where the other flowers would be on the
Oh, I'm seeing
opposite
right
diagonal.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like he's got the curves, and I'm just like,
little
dude,
bench in the middle,
yeah, and you're like,
a
dude,
little
this is
fountain in the middle.
perfectly
Yeah, that's pretty
symmetrical.
cool.
It's like oddly satisfying, and it's so good to see. But, I haven't even gotten to that point in my save. I still have trees randomly placed all over the place. I don't even have paths. The way I play the game is I literally save my money and put it in the bank and then invest in island structures. So I'm
Okay.
saving up for a bridge. I haven't even upgraded my house to the next room. I think I've only upgraded it once. I've not
What
put
you're
any
saying is
money in
your
my house.
right.
Yeah, basically, and it's like I haven't put any there, and I've been, I, as much as I enjoy fishing, right now is just not the good time because of the whole Easter event
No,
thing.
no, Easter,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
And then,
I've managed to put in a lot of, fish into the museum, put a lot of fossils in there and bugs and all that stuff. So that's what I'm investing my time into. I think by like summer, I'll be fully stocked to invest in my home. That's what I want to do.
nice.
Excuse me, I
Okay.
feel like I need a burp, but yeah, no, that's where I want to go is invest my house in summertime. And to get back to the point, this Animal Crossing is built so much better for that purpose. you are spending real time, if you don't time travel, doing all these things. But at the end of the day, at least for me, I feel satisfied. I don't need to go back and spend another 3 hours fishing on another island, doing little things here and there,
Yeah,
because Nintendo's known for that, especially their IPs. They want you to grind. They want you to do the extra
and,
mile. So they expect people to spend
and you get
two to three
rewarded for
hours.
that.
Exactly. I've seen people spend 2 hours getting Tarantia Island and getting a bunch of money for it, but I don't find the pleasure in spending those 2 hours doing all that. I would much rather spend 2 hours doing something that I would feel a lot comfortable doing, and
Yeah,
then
more beneficial.
slowly building my island. How do you play this game? I want to know, because
Oof.
I've kind of understood, but I wanted to save what you were going to say
Yeah,
specifically for this. So how do you play it?
right now, all I can say, despite the pandemic going on, it's a good time to be an introvert, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
good time to be a video game nerd right
Oh
now.
my God,
That's
yes.
all you're doing. That's all I'm doing, at least. Schools are canceled or online, but I just did my spring break.
Uh huh.
Quote unquote spring break, as if we're not a spring break already.
Uh huh.
Um, but oh my gosh, yeah, I already have 100 hours playing this game.
Oh
I've been playing it
Jesus
like,
Christ.
yeah, because I don't have a job,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm like, well, if I'm not gonna do anything, might as well might as well get my 5-star rating on my island.
Yeah.
Um, but and like I said, it's a beautiful time to connect with your friends, and
Mm-hmm.
for sure, grabbing this game, I've connected to a lot of the old cast members that I used to work with. For example, I don't know if you remember Ellen.
Yeah.
She was a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already talking. We had like a 5-hour conversation of like just of our islands walking around. I connected with Lindsay, Jellyfish, I believe,
Uh
something
huh.
like that. Um,
You just connect with
uh,
a lot of people. And I saw that because you guys
just yeah,
celebrated her
everyone.
birthday on there. Yeah.
Yes,
So
Ellen. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I've seen those photos. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Like
Super
I've
cool. Yeah.
never seen specifically how Nintendo allows you to communicate with people. I never thought that I would see a lot of people connect with one another in Animal Crossing because they make it impossible. I'm sorry, but
And
as
Nintendo's multiplayer or co-op is super bad.
it's
Let's face it.
they don't understand the meaning of multiplayer.
Don't get it.
They
Yeah,
don't.
no, they don't.
I'm an Xbox player. You're a PC gamer. If we wanted to play on PC, now that I have a PC, what do we need to do? If we have Steam accounts, we just send each other friend requests using our
Or
account
just
names.
cross platform.
Or yeah, exactly. It's as simple as that. But for some reason, Nintendo's like, you need to
Nintendo
share
doesn't get
a
it.
12 to 16 long number with a friend code, and then you need to accept it on that side. But then you also, if you want to talk over voice chat, you need to download this app over here and connect that to
What
your
was
phone.
that? You want to have fun with your friends?
Mm,
All right, here is a 20-minute tutorial how to do that.
exactly. Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry. It's not that we don't understand. It's that we're trying to protect the kids. We want to make sure the
Yeah,
kids. No, 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 no. Dude, I'm sorry, but if
despite
kids.
having parental cover or something, whatever it's called.
Yeah. No, 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 no. Look, dude, Nintendo needs to understand that kids are a lot
With the
smarter
program.
than they are now than they were 10 years
Yeah,
ago. Back 10 years ago, it was a lot
sure.
difficult to get
But they were
online
dumb as hell.
and do all these different things. Nowadays, a kid can activate Discord, they can chat with friends online, hell, they can even find porn online super easily.
You
It's
can access
not
so
difficult.
many things.
Yeah,
Insane.
exactly. Um, but to back up on your point, so you're able to communicate with your friends. You've gotten in touch with a lot of people. What else do you do with Animal Crossing?
Yeah, well, right now I've actually kind of paused because I've been focusing more on just playing other games like Mario Kart. But keeping in touch with Animal Crossing. Yeah, right now I've been focused a lot more on just pathings. Um, I don't like the Easter event right now, and I know a lot of people don't because it's kind of overwhelming.
It's too
Um,
many eggs.
it's just so many damn eggs, and
Yeah.
I've seen so many Facebook memes already where it's like where you miss the sea bass,
Yeah.
or yeah, and
The Wolverine meme
uh,
where he's like laying in bed
oh
and then
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah, leave them with
touching
the
the frame.
picture.
That was a good one. I saw
Oh,
that
that's
one
so
today on
funny.
Reddit and I'm like, oh my god, dude, really?
Still
People are
hate
now complaining
Zipper
about this.
um, since I still hate him since City Folk, and he's annoying as ever still.
Who do you hate?
Zipper, the bunny.
Oh. Was he really in City Folk? Oh, I didn't play City Folk.
Yeah. Or wait, was this him? No. I think he's in New Leaf. My bad.
Okay.
Either way, he always appears in that game too, and he's just always annoying. I never liked him. Um, but like I said, it's cool that right now you can be at home and literally just play this game. It's a win for you and Nintendo right now, because I'm pretty sure Nintendo's revenue is like ka-ching right now.
Oh, I mean, they sold out on Switches all over the place.
Yeah,
It's
I heard that
impossible
too.
to
That my
find one.
friends wanted to buy one. I'm like, well, then buy one. They're like, dude, they're all sold out. And I was like, what the hell? I was like,
How do you
whatever.
even get a Switch at this point? My girlfriend, because I've been letting her play Animal Crossing on my end, but we're sharing an
Okay.
island. She's like, oh, I want to buy a Switch, but she wants to buy a Switch. She's like, oh, I would much rather get just a Switch Lite or something. But it's so difficult because we know, like, and this is the thing. As far as like the Switches go, I'm a big fan of the Switch itself, not the Switch Lite. I get it for maybe a
The Switch Lite, no.
yeah, no. For
Never,
like an
never
8,
for me.
10-year old, if you want to give them a Switch, get them a Switch Lite. But for someone that like takes into account the technicalities of all these things, maybe you want to play on your TV, maybe you want to
You don't
disconnect
want
the
to
Joy
play on
Cons.
TV all the time.
Yeah, you want a normal Switch, so you want all those things. So it's getting different demographics, and it's trying to appeal to more people. And I feel like if you know what you're doing with this, you can kind of ease some people in, and that's what I'm doing with her, because she's recently been becoming more of a gamer. I got her Sims 4, so she's on the PC more now, playing that. She's been playing Animal Crossing and stuff like that, but it's like I have to show her, hey, don't just buy into this thing here super quickly. You got to know things here and there. I did want to ask you a question, and this is in regards to time traveling in Animal Crossing.
Oh,
I have not. Did I time travel? I think I've time traveled once in Wild World, mainly because, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of cheated in Wild World, but that was way into it. I think after I completed my first year playing Wild World, I cheated because my friend had a Game Shark or whatever it was called for the DS, and he got like a bunch of bells, and then went to my town and just deposited like somewhere around 5 million bells. And so with that, I had to time travel a little bit. But ever since then, I've never really invested time in time traveling. Like I said, I have nothing against it. I don't call people out for it. But what is your stance on it? Because I don't care, but I wouldn't do it. I enjoy having the real time aspect to the game. So, do you time travel? Do you hate it when people do it? What's your take on it?
No, I don't hate it at all. But I do. If I knew that I was just gonna spend more time at home, I wouldn't have time travel. But the times that I did, it was to just speed up the campers, my villagers, when they would start migrating over to my island. And then like on the first day they say, "Oh, I'm busy unpacking." I wanted to see the homes built already, all the bridges built. And I didn't want to wait the entire whole day. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just gonna speed up the process. And so that's where it came handy, is that all the things that I built, and you have like the construction site, and then it says, oh, waiting until the next day. That's where I love to time travel, because and then I would speed up the process and I didn't have to wait. But I would always go back to my original day, this original day. And as far as like keeping it like this, did it break like the game for me, or was it still fun? For sure, I still had so much fun. It would still be fun whether or not if I time traveled or not, you know?
Yeah.
Because I just love video games. And for those that are super hardcore, okay, yeah, don't time travel, I guess, whatever. It's your choice. Um, but for me, I loved it, and I know every one of my friends time traveled, and I think, like I said, it depends on what you do. Like if you're gonna like, if I can give any advice to newcomers, is that don't time travel in the beginning. Enjoy it as much as you can, and then once you have everything unlocked, then time travel as much as you can to see your island just grow instantly.
There was
because what's the point?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. There was a point that was made. I think it was IGN that mentioned it. I don't know if it was IGN or GameSpot that did it, but they mentioned that time traveling, to them, they had like no stance on it, but they understood, and they said that essentially people that couldn't invest as much time as most other gamers, it was kind of essential for them to time travel. Because I
Yeah, yeah,
100% get it. Let's say that you work a 9 to 5 job Monday through Friday, right? You get to work at 9, you end up coming home at 5, and you maybe have to prep dinner, you have to get ready. You won't be playing the game until maybe around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and by then you're already missing some of the bugs because butterflies during the springtime pop up during the daytime. Certain fish, they come out at noon. There was a fish for some reason that popped up like 9 a.m. to 12 or something like that.
Oh, I know exactly what kind of
Yeah,
fish. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's it's hard. It's impossible. And if you are a completionist, I'm gonna be honest. If once I have a career 100% fully established, and maybe I do have to work a 9 to 5 job, it's going to be difficult to play games like that require
Yeah.
me to get 100% and want to without necessarily finding a way to quote unquote cheat or find around like ways around it. And so I
Yeah.
get it. If you work a lot or you have other priorities and you can't necessarily invest that time to play Animal Crossing, then yeah, time traveling should be a way for you to enjoy the game. You're not going to play the
Especially when
game.
you don't want to wait until 5 a.m. the next day until the new announcement of Tom Hogan. So good
Exactly.
evening, good morning. The next day is blah blah blah.
Yeah, this game specifically though, I think kind of makes it a little. I like I haven't time traveled in this one, but I think that this game makes it a little bit more difficult to time travel because with all these events going on, if you time travel far enough, I don't know if it's going to mess something up. You know?
I'm kind of scared to do that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because
I
New
totally
Leaf
agree.
and Wild World had these seasonal events, but they were already integrated in the game. This Extravaganza event was integrated as an update. So
It's an
what
update
happens in the
patch.
summer? Yeah, what happens in the
Well,
summer? Are they going to have a fishing tourney like they have in the other games? Or are they going to integrate like the summer festival, like something different? You never know. And is that going to mess up your game because they wanted to update it and add more things? You don't
see,
know.
right now, like I guess if you even want to call it a punishment, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, right? Right
Mm-hmm.
now, the only punishment you get for time traveling backwards or like forward, and then you want to go back to like the actual time zone,
Mm-hmm.
is if you buy turnips right now,
If you
and
put,
then
oh, that's right.
yeah, yeah, and then you want to obviously you sign them to Nooks and Cranny,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know how it's basically a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
If you go backwards in time, they totally rot, and I feel like that's a good thing because I guess that's too much power for the gamer to
Yeah.
just manipulate time and then you become a billionaire in the
Yeah.
game. Like, dude, come on, like realistically, you did not do that. You didn't farm from it. You didn't do anything, right?
Exactly.
And so I think that's a good punishment for those that are honestly just farming and buying as much as they can, and then just going backwards to see if they can like manipulate the pricing range.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't do that because as soon as you go back in time, even by 1 second, I already tried it. All your terms are rotten,
Yeah. So if
and I
you
think it's
invest a lot
really
of
funny.
money, I think they did that with Wild World because I remember doing that and then going back in time and having just my turnips just spoil, and I think that was integrated
That's
in the.
funny.
It's so heartbreaking because sometimes you spend a good chunk of your money and
And
then
you
they
spend
just
more than
rot.
500,000.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a good way to punish some people because if you do it right, you could end up with a lot of money. You can buy
Yeah, for
turnips
sure.
for 94 bells a pop, and then all of a
Next day,
sudden,
$400.
yeah, and
Definitely.
exactly, Timmy and Tommy are going to have some sort of drug fest where they're like, "Oh yeah, turnips, yeah, they're worth 550 bells." All of a sudden,
Yeah,
you
they're
end
worth
up with a
420. Yeah.
yeah, and like you just end up having a massive amount of bells. So it is a good way to punish people, but I still think that if you just don't have the time, there's nothing wrong with time traveling. And I feel that there's that stigma where people either kind of make fun of
But yeah,
people
you
that don't
tank
time
that.
travel. You time travel, it's like you're not an honest gamer, dude. It's not about that. It's just how you
Yeah.
play it. Animal Crossing is so diverse. It's a
Yeah.
game that essentially grabs a hold of different gamers and they put them in this kind of relaxing environment. For me at least, I'm a gamer that loves FPSs. I play Call of Duty,
Same,
I
yeah.
play Battlefield, I'll play things like Resident Evil. Right now, I bought Doom Eternal. I've got the collector's
Ooh, yeah.
edition. Yeah, I'm a huge like
Isabel, she pops up any minute.
in Doom Eternal. But like I'm that kind of like
Yeah.
gamer where I have that genre in me already. I enjoy the gritty, hardcore, violent,
The
in your
intense games.
face. Yeah.
100% same.
But then I play Animal Crossing and something inside of me awakens and I'm like, "Oh, this is actually adorable and I like
Oh
it."
yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
You
I
can
100% super agree in that.
yeah. And
That
it,
we, oh, I might screw around and be hardcore gamer and play Call of Duty Warzone right now and kill like 40 killing people with spree. And then I kind of feel like farming some oranges now. It's
Yeah.
like, well, like, hello? Where did
It-
that come from?
Exactly. And it's so funny because I feel like if people try to make fun of you for that, they can't. Because what is there to make fun of on Animal Crossing? It's a Zen like game. You literally fish, you can collect bugs, you can build your island, you can do whatever the heck you want, and it's
Yeah.
so much
If
fun
you're making fun
doing
of people
so.
that play Animal Crossing, you literally need to get a
You need
life.
to relax a little bit. Sometimes life
You do
isn't
need to
so much
relax and
about
open up.
rip and tear and blowing up heads and guns
Yeah,
and all this stuff. No, it's
I can only do so much of that.
yeah. And so it's enjoyable. I appreciate what Animal Crossing has done. I bought Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal on the same day. So that meme that you mentioned
Sick.
where it's like Isabel comes up out of Doom Eternal,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I freaking love that. It's such a great thing and it's so funny because it brings people together and out of everything that's going on now, I feel like Animal Crossing was a blessing for society. I feel like it
Yeah, it brings the community together. I'm like
exactly.
in so many Animal Crossing Facebook community pages.
Mhm.
I already had people come to my village to trade,
Mhm.
and it's just amazing like feeling of communicating with people and
Exactly.
socializing, even though you can't socialize right now. You know?
You get the creative aspect of it, you get to socialize,
Oh yeah.
you get to relax. It's great. It's great. And honestly, like Nintendo did a great job with Animal Crossing. I have almost no complaints with the game. Besides certain things here and there that they've changed, I don't like the fact that coconuts are now 250 bells instead of 500 because now I can't farm that. I feel like they've downgraded on the bells earned, so now you have to grind a little bit harder. But whatever, that's fine. Um, Bridges now I can't access without having to like friggin' pull up another item and do all these things. Like there's little nitpicks here and there, but I honestly have to say that this has probably been one of the best Nintendo games that has come out in a year. Not this year, but in a year. What other games have come out that are worth mentioning?
Right now, all I'm waiting for is the remastered versions of Mario Galaxy and Sunshine. Right now, they already confirmed it, and I
Exactly.
just can't wait.
Not confirmed it. It's rumored, but we
Oh no,
know.
it's confirmed.
It,
It's for sure.
this is coming straight from Izzy. It's been 100% confirmed.
Oh
You
yeah.
heard it here, right here, there, and now. All right, Izzy. I think it's time for us to wrap up this episode. You still got that
Mhm.
wine?
I do.
Okay.
Got a
We'll
little
end it on
sensitive.
this. We'll end it on this. Animal Crossing, great game. I give it personally, I recommend it to people. I enjoy it. I feel like if you have a Switch, you want a good, relaxing game, it's worth a shot. No
Yeah.
beef for anyone that time travels. And for people, listeners that have, well developed islands and, are showing them off on social media, good for you guys. That's what you guys should be doing. Don't bash it on people for not having their islands built because I haven't had mine.
FMB.
But it's great. So, I mean, do you have any final thoughts on Animal Crossing?
Oh no, easily 9 out of 10. It's not a perfect game, but it's almost really perfect. And
Exactly.
I just can't wait for the upcoming events, for sure.
We'll be
And I
playing
can't
it.
wait until they start like maybe mixing up different genre skins of games. You know.
We'll come back.
Uh,
We'll come back to this game in over a year, and we'll still probably be
yeah,
playing it at this point. I think the audience will die down a
probably
little
will.
bit, but most people will still be playing it after a year and kind of doing things here and there.
Will completely die when the sequel of Breath of the Wild is out. Trust me.
Oh my god! Then all of a sudden, people are gonna switch over to Breath of the Wild. And that'll be the thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but before we wrap things up, Izzy, I appreciate you coming in on the first episode of Drinking Matters. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure talking to you, dude. Honestly, if you ever want to come back, you're more than welcome to. You can just let me know. But cheers, my friend. Thank you
Cheers.
for coming in. Do you have
Thank
any
you.
last words? Anything that you want to integrate or not integrate? If there's anything you want to plug in before we leave.
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me over as your first guest. It's really honorable for me. I definitely will hear it once you have done all the cool gimmick stuff and everything. Let me know, and I'll definitely share it across my social media platform. Speaking of social media, for anyone listening, I'm more active on Instagram, so if you guys want to follow me at soy_flowerboy, you're more than welcome to. And yeah, thank you again, Brian, for having me over. and hope you guys enjoyed our conversation here.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I'll plug in your socials in the description because I'm gonna put this on YouTube, and if I don't know if I'm gonna put it as an audio only. I got to figure all that stuff out. But this video, it'll more than likely be on YouTube, so I'll plug your socials down there,
Cool, cool.
maybe in the
Yeah, yeah.
description as well. But Izzy, thank you very much. Cheers, my friend. Hope to see
Cheers.
you soon, and hope to keep in contact more often. So cheers.
Yeah,
Let's go
definitely will.
ahead and
Can't wait
finish
to
up our
hang out
drinks.
and go take our cars through the canyons or something.
Once I get the car, that's a topic for another day, dude.
That's topic.
Cheers, my friend, and to my listeners, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Drinking Matters. I will go ahead and leave my socials as well as Izzy's down below in the comments. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/turtlag562. I do have a Twitch as well, twitch.tv//turtlag562. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you guys want to hear us talk more, if you guys have any other subjects you guys want us to talk about, anything like that, feel free to leave a comment down below. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers, everyone. Cheers, Izzy. Have a good night.
Good one. Yeah.